Welcome to Surrender School.
Welcome, everybody. Let's start with the mission statement. At Surrender School, we recover. Our mission is to share 12-step and other supportive recovery solutions with those who want a healthy relationship with food. All right. We are not an official 12-step meeting, but we do try to adhere to the spirit of the traditions. All right. So here is everything that we offer at Surrender School is on the website, and there's a lot out there. So go ahead and go out there and check it out. Watch the chat detail for details. So instead of me covering a whole bunch of stuff up front, we put it in the chat. Lori will post it in the chat. So please be sure to take a look there. If Surrender School has helped your recovery, we ask that you donate. Those of us that teach and so forth we don't take any money for this, but we do have expenses at Surrender School, things like the website, the Zoom accounts, and so forth. So please be sure to donate if we have helped your recovery. All right, so one thing I want to point out, Surrender School is now big enough and robust enough that we have a second Zoom room. That it allows us to do things that overlap in time, which is kind of nice. So we're not currently, I don't think there's anything that does overlap, but with the second Zoom room, it allows us to do more than we've done in the past. So when you go out to the website and look at it, you'll see where the link is. Each of the sessions has, click here for Zoom instructions, and it'll say if it's in Zoom room 1 or 2. All of my stuff for now, right now, is in room 1, which is, it just stays the same as it's been. But I'm going to talk for a second right now, as a matter of fact, about the weekly reprise of the original 30-day course, which is Abstinence in Recovery. So it's going to be facilitated by Scarlett. And you'll watch the video together, which is 15 to 20 minutes, and then there'll be some writing and some sharing. Mondays starting tomorrow, July 14th. It's from 5:30 to 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, and it is in Zoom room number 2. So when you go out on the website and you see Scarlett's picture and you see that, click on the instructions there, and it'll take you to the new Zoom room. And notice that it has the Zoom number, and there's also a password on that, and that's surrender with a capital S. And it'll tell you that when you look at the Zoom instructions. But there is this new class. And what this is Linda T's 30 days, her 30 meetings in 30-day thing that she did a month or so ago. This is a reprise of that with weekly meetings. So I think if you had a chance to go to that, revisit it. If you didn't get a chance to go to that, this is your chance to do that. All right. So I met with we talked last week, a couple weeks ago, whenever, about what do we want to do the rest of the year? And so I listened to what people said, and we put this schedule together. You may want to take a picture of this. We will post this out there so that people see it, but there's going to be a change. And basically the plan is we'll do 2 weeks of content with breakouts, and then 1 week of basically an office hour. It's a big room sharing. There won't be any additional content. It's makeup. So if somebody missed and they want to ask questions or share on something, they can. But so that each step ends up being 3 weeks long, and the 3rd week is a makeup or office hours. That allows us to be finished before Thanksgiving week, and then this time slot that we're in right now will just be makeup and office hours for the rest of the year. And that kind of reserves this time slot. So whatever it is that we're going to do next year, which is probably another iteration of this, to learn a little bit more, to go a little deeper, to pick out another defense and so forth. So because we don't believe that the 12 steps are one and done. So anyway, take a look at that. And once again, we are finished just the week before. I think it's the week before Thanksgiving. The 16th is when we're finished. And then the rest of it is office hours until the beginning of the year. And then we'll start anew. And once again, it'll be Supercharge again or something like this. Okay, let's take a moment to be sure that you are present. Feel your breath going in and out. Feel your feet on the floor. Forget about everything that happened before here and anything that might happen later. And just be present today, right now, right here. And together, let's say the Surrender School set-aside prayer. God, help me to set aside everything I think I know to leave space for what I have yet to learn. All right. So the goal of this course is a personal journey. Our focus is to help us understand the relationship between our false self, that ego structure, and our true self, and to treat ourselves with unrelenting compassion because we're human. If you haven't taken the test, you need to take the test, because this whole Supercharge Your Recovery is about working the steps by type. It's what allows you to learn more and more and more about your type when you do the exercises and so forth. And then how do we tie that in with our 12 steps? The next concept that we talk about is that self-contempt stops, or at least inhibits, spiritual growth. So much of, not always, but so much of 12-step, we have found, so much of 12-step sometimes has this perspective of you can hate yourself into recovery. And what we have all learned is you can't hate yourself into recovery. You have to love yourself into recovery. So, and that is what Surrender School is about. We do believe if you do the work, your recovery will be supercharged. And then just a reminder, there's lots of things you can be in the world. We ask that you be kind to yourself and also to other people. So this inquiry slide I put up every time because the point of what we're doing especially in the steps that we're working right now is we want to be able to see our patterns, those patterns that we've seen, and we noticed them in step 4. The kind observers saw them in step 5. We picked one of them to work on in step 6, and now we're actually going to work on it in step 7, because what we want to be able to do is see patterns as patterns, and our projections as projections, those stories we tell ourselves. We want to be able to see that this is a story I'm telling myself. And then we ask the question, what is the story I'm telling myself here? And then how do I do the opposite? That's really kind of what the work of 6 and 7 is. Okay, and then the more that you see them, what happens is it allows your greater power to help dissipate those and dissolve those instincts or those projections and patterns, so that the ego structure is no longer in charge. All right, step 7 is humbly ask him to remove our shortcomings. That's a pretty simple statement. And once again, step 6 and 7 are like a paragraph in the big book. They're very, very short, but I think this is where the gold is. So I'm excited that we're on step 7. All right. This week, your assignment was to basically answer some questions about humility and self-acceptance. And one of the things that came up with some of the discussions that I overheard, and I think this happens all the time, is people are like, wait a minute, if I'm humble, doesn't that mean that I hate myself, right? That there's this, somehow that humility and self-acceptance are like opposites. And I want to tell you, I don't think humility and self-acceptance are opposites. I actually think that they are mirror images. Even in the 8, it's a mirror image, because if I'm truly accepting myself, I'm not larger than life about whatever. I don't bring a lot of energy to whatever it is I'm doing. I will bring a lot of energy when I doubt myself, less when I'm sure of myself, right? But when I'm in self-acceptance and I'm loving myself, I bring the appropriate amount of energy. I will bring a lot of energy, right? Which is basically linked to my inability to be humble. When I'm humble, and this is true really of all the types, and I really want you to think about that, is if you view that humility and self-acceptance are mirror images, and they basically move together. When I am accepting myself, it allows me to humbly ask my greater power to help me. Because what happens is once I really realize deep inside that I am not God, I can be humble before my greater power. I can be humble. And that self-acceptance that I'm not supposed to be God, I'm not supposed to be in charge, I'm not supposed to determine what happens in the world, right? I'm understanding my place in the world, which is I'm an observer and I'm a participant and I'm all that, but I am not in charge. And once I realize that, then I can humbly ask my greater power for help in removing these things. So the humility and self-acceptance kind of go hand in hand. They're mirror images of one another. You have to have one in order to have the other. Otherwise, it's false humility, and you don't want that. So there's an acceptance that I am not God. I am not the greater power. I might have some power, but I don't have the power that my greater power has. So once I can accept that, then I can very easily, humbly ask for help from my greater power. So that really does make that happen. Okay, so later on, We are going to be doing, the breakout rooms will be about humility and self-acceptance. And you've had 2 weeks to work on that. So hopefully people did get a chance to write on those 2 questions that were there about those things. All right. I want to take a fresh look at change. I want to talk real quick about why change is hard. And we've talked before that change is hard. And I'm going to give you a metaphor to think about. And this is from the book called Switch by Chip and Dan Heath. I used to teach the sections of this in part of a class that I taught. And I think it really, really works here with the ego structure. Okay. Imagine that your true self is a person on top of an elephant, which is your ego. And of course, the path of life is just living. So you are on top of an elephant that is your ego. Okay, so if your true self decides that you want to go to the right, does the elephant have to go to the right? No, the elephant does what the elephant wants to do, right? Just like the ego does what the ego wants to do. Pretty much we have no sway over that. I can yell at it, I can push on it, I can do all these things, right? So it's like, if you view that who I want to be, who I really want to be is on top of this elephant, which is my ego, and the path of life is broad. When I look at that, I go, oh my, how I can't even have sway over the elephant. I can't even hope that the elephant will do what I ask it to do at all. This is why change is hard, because the ego is this giant thing that has been in charge for all these years. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I make this giant thing that has been in charge all these years do something different? There are a few things that we can do. Okay, so one of them is we can narrow the path down so it knows what path we want to go on. We can do that. And I'm going to use an example in my own life. Those of you that know, my abstinence, it has always been, for years and years, has been everything is on the table. It just can't all be on the table at once, right? That's pretty broad abstinence. Okay. I am having a hell of a time with my abstinence now, a hell of a time, right? So, and some of it comes from, now I understand the chemical reactions in my body. And I'm like, I'm watching all this happen like I'm an observer instead of a participant. Anyway, and I know that the answer for this change, because, and as you age, you have to change your food plan stuff too. Anyway, is that I need to narrow that path. I'm not going to block it, so make it so narrow that I can't pass through it, but I need to narrow that down, because that's the direction I want to go. And the elephant will go there if I give it a clear path. This is where we want to go, right? The other thing that has to happen is I have to paint the picture of how beautiful it's going to be on the other side of this, right? I have to actually paint the idea that the ego says, come on, ego, this is going to be easier for you. It's better for you. It's better for me. It's better for all of us. I need to do that. And then what happens is it becomes a baby elephant on a leash. And I don't know if you've ever seen a baby elephant on a leash. Yeah, they don't put baby elephants on leashes because they're stronger than people are, right? So, but it's little, but it can still take over. But it's not this giant thing that you can't, there's no sway to it, right? You have some sway here. And so much of that comes from the fact that you can see it happening, right? You can see it. And that's because we see the stories that we tell ourselves. We see the patterns that we have. That all comes from that. So I really want to encourage you that even though the ego is this elephant and we are on its back, we can shrink that down to where it is no longer in charge most of the time. It still has the ability to take over, right? And those are the times that we basically make mistakes and do wrong things. And I have to say that is one thing. When I fail colossally because I'm bold, right? So I don't kind of sort of fail. I fail colossally when I fail. And that's even part of my self-acceptance is, okay, all right, you did that. That was kind of stupid, but okay, what do we do now? How do we pick this up? How do we start over? And it's not start over at the beginning. It's pick myself up from where I am and move forward. Now, we're going to do some quick shares before the breakout room. It can be about this. It can be about the review that we did last week. I don't care. It can be about anything. It's just, let's get back into the idea of sharing in the big room. And we'll go ahead and share, and then I'll put you in the breakout rooms. But I'm going to go very specific into the assignment in the breakout rooms. All right, Jasmine, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
Thanks, Cher, for the imagery. It is so accurate. That illusion of control I used to have, it did feel like that. Like I'm trying to, wield this huge, massive thing, and it's just not working out. And I'm making myself tired. And ruining my life along the way, wasting time. But anyway, humility is major. So I'm thinking about switching from my church, which is Baptist, to Methodist, to a new church. And I was talking to the pastor about it. I'm doing it July 27th. Anyway, the point of this story is that he was asking me, like, what meeting are you about to go to? And I was like, it's kind of a catch-all for addicts. And he runs groups at his church, so he's not, ignorant to 12 steps. But I think he asked me, like, and I was like, because I am an addict, so the first thing I have to do, he was asking me about it. And I said, the first thing I have to do is turn my will over to God in the morning. And he was like, kind of asking about that. And I said, if I don't, it's life or death for me. And then he was like, you know what happens, if you keep saying that. And I thought he was going to say that stupid stuff about, you speaking it into existence. I thought he was going to, like, toxic positivity me. But he was like, you keep saying that because that's what you need to do to stay strong. And I so appreciated it, because I'm like, please don't try to talk me out of what I know is true. And it takes humility to admit that, and it's like, that's where my recovery lies. I'll pass.
Thank you, Jasmine. Absolutely. Anyone else want to share before we move on? Is this because you're all very excited about the breakout rooms? Is that what's happening? You're we're never taking 2 weeks again. No, I'm kidding. Thank you. Okay, Karen, to you.
Yeah, I'm doing this question about, the trust and the control of step 6. Yeah, I was abstinent forever. In this last week or two, I was struggling because I was trying to make myself go back to FA and do that food plan and that program. And the people are great in there, but I can't do the sponsor thing. I just can't do it. Because I just really want to trust in God all the way first and surrender to God first, my higher power, because I know it's so easy for me to trust in a person to help me with it. And it's like, dude, that's what my 6 wants to do. And it's not the right thing now. And it's like, I'm trying to force myself to do stuff before I came to surrender school. And it's hard for me now because it's like, I realize what I'm doing. And one of my MOs is just to keep switching programs. Okay, oh yeah, I'm done with that one because I got to go here because I'm not getting any feedback from my higher power. I'm not getting any directions. So I'll just take control and move on, right? So it's been really eye-opening for me. It's been really helpful. But God, I so desire to be abstinent every single day. It's so important. I have been the last few days, but it's I'll go along for weeks, maybe months, and then boom, and I don't like that part about me. And you know what? I can't do that contempt thing. That's not going to work either. But I just got to keep trying and not be hard on myself and see my defenses of running, not feeling safe, not trusting people, and not trusting my higher power at all. So, and I know I can, but I don't know why I want to run the show. I just do.
And I think it's also whenever we feel discomfort, whether it's physical discomfort or emotional discomfort, right? We want to fix it. And I think the 6, because they're called the loyalists, because when they do trust something or someone, right, they're very loyal to that. But until they can find that what they trust, right? If you think the mantra, faith is believing in things unseen, and I am guided within, right? So both of those things, I think that's perfect for a 6. But I will say, when I talked about the elephant in the path, I talk about, for me, I have to narrow the path. There are other people who may need to broaden their path. They may have narrowed it down so much that they feel trapped, because once again, we believe that God wants us to be happy, joyous, and free comes first. From that comes days of happiness and moments of joy, but the freedom comes first. For me, it's like a free for all. I can't do a free for all. I'm learning that. And could I when I was younger? Maybe, but I can't now. And I'm learning, right? It's like, when they say you can't unsee it, that's what I feel like when I go to Linda T's courses. I can't fucking unsee it. Are you kidding me? Now I know that. I can't unknow it. but I still have to fight against it, right? That's just like, thank you for being an 8, Cheryl, anyway. But yeah, but I think you're right. And this part of the self-acceptance, absolutely, Karen, is to realize that we're a human, and this is what humans do. When it's like I feel free, I feel a little uncomfortable about whatever it is, and the ego jumps up and says, I can take care of this for you. I like to defend you. I can do this. I can take care of this for you. And then I'm eating. It's like, what the heck? Where did this come from? Because I let that little baby elephant on its leash lead me again. It went the direction it wanted to go instead of the direction I want to go. Right? Yeah. Thank you, Karen, for sharing that. Jim, to you.
Sure. Thanks. Whoops. In this section of the workshop, in terms of sharing at the moment, are you asking people to share on the work that they've done for today, or is that
no?
just
Because that'll be in the breakout. That'll be in the breakout room.
Okay.
So this is whatever else you'd like to share, but the breakout room is going to be about the humility and self-acceptance exercise, the journaling or whatever that you did on that.
Okay.
That's because, once again, that's super important. So yep, we're going to do that here in about 1 minute. Kidding. All right, so I want to talk for a second about what is the assignment in the breakout room. And Lori, I'm assuming that you're all set with your leaders in the breakout room.
Yes.
Okay, and this is going to be a 30-minute share. And here are the guidelines. For every share, you must read the questions, and there's 2 questions there. You must read the question or questions for your type, and then you're going to share on that. I'm asking you to be kind to your room leader, because I've asked them to say, can you read your question first, please? Okay, this is not about sharing about your week, about anything else. This is about sharing on humility and self-acceptance. That's what your questions for all the types are. And it's a different question for each type, because obviously it shows up differently for an 8 than it does a 2, then it does a 6, then it does a 4, and so forth. Okay, so you're going to read your question and share on it. You can read question 1 and share on it, question 2 and share on it. You have, I think it's going to be 4 minutes. Your breakout leader will determine that, 3 or 4 minutes. And then if you have other things you want to share on, you can do that at the end once everyone has shared. But the goal here is for everybody to share on their questions. So we are getting back to the discipline that we had in steps 1, 2, and 3. It's been a bit of a free-for-all, and had to be for steps 4, 5, and 6. So now I want to get back to where we're really narrowing it down. You have to read your question, and then you're going to answer the question. So we're going to have this last half an hour, and we're going to put you into randomly assigned breakout rooms. I've had people ask me, can we assign the breakout rooms, blah, blah. No, this randomly assigning things means it's up to God. Our greater powers determine who we need to hear, not only who we need to share in front of, right? Who needs to hear us, and who do we need to also listen to. So that's a greater power thing rather than me. So hold on a second, Lori, before you do that. So Tamara, I see your hand is up. Go ahead.
So when you were wondering about why people weren't talking, I just had that thought of, well, it's like the narrow path and the wide path. That was a wide path. Talk about whatever you want. So
That's true.
That might have made it hard.
It's
I was like, I don't know.
Everybody's like, oh my God, anything? I can talk about anything. I love that.
Right. Well, so what thing will it be? And overwhelmed. And so the other thing, as you were just talking, it's like a question. It's really a question that's popped into my mind. Accepting of the fact that there is discomfort and uncertainty in life. Is that something that some people actually grow up learning to manage? It's just a question, because I'm like, and you don't have to answer it. It's really rhetorical, I think, but it's on my mind, just in the sense of, I think that's the key to life. And I'm just realizing that's the key to life, because it is the nature of life. And I know I didn't get any training in that. It was always about how to be controlling those things. So anyway, thanks for
and so much of the job of parents, right, is to make you acceptable in society. So much of that. And as children, because we take everything in, we have no filters. They're not even, I mean, the physical filters that your brain builds up by the time you're like 25 years old aren't even in place as children. That's why the children are so easily bruised and so easily harmed. And Michael Naylor teaches that every single child has a catastrophe that happens. And some are little catastrophes that they have catastrophized in their mind, and some are huge, right? But all of us go through that when we realize there's some realization that we're not the center of the universe, right? Or something like that. There's some catastrophe that happens to us. And so I think probably the short answer is we all need to learn how to deal with that. We just all do. And that's one of the reasons. And I think that is human. It has to be that way because otherwise we would never need community. And I think our greater power wants us in community. If we could survive 100% happily by ourselves, right? If you ever saw that movie Castaway, right? He created a little character, a friend out of a soccer ball, right? Because there's this sense, this need for community is part of, that's one of the instincts that we have just for survival. We have that, right? So, and I think that is kind of part of that for sure, that we need to do that. But I think the answer is probably, I mean, what we are doing now is figuring out how to tame that ego structure, right? First of all, to understand that we are not our personality. We think we are. We spend our whole life believing that's us. And what happens when we come here, we learn that no, that's the ego structure that's built up to defend us. So what is the undefended, vulnerable little child, that true self inside? What is that like? And it's similar in that, right? It has similar needs and that kind of stuff, but it's a softer, gentler, kinder, more loving. And when I can reach that, then I'm happy. I went to the doctor last week to finish up all the stuff, and I had high blood pressure in the 140 range. And I could tell she was going to put me on meds. I don't want to be on meds, right? And so I come home. So I take my blood pressure every day, and I'm still somewhere near 140. So she's probably going to, and I want to be in control. It's like, I don't think without losing weight, I don't think I can control my blood pressure. I think that's something that's out of my control right now. Over time, I can probably bring it down a little bit, but I can't like today just decide I'm going to have lower blood pressure. But there is something in me that thinks I can. And it's so delusional. It's like, seriously. So Tamara, I think to the point that you made, right? It's like, this is something that I mean, long-term, could I control it? Yes, I can lose some weight and that'll help. Fine. But today, can I control that today? Can I go in and tell her, don't put me on meds when she really thinks she needs to put me on meds? She's my doctor. She right. So anyway, but that's that right there. And so some of that is like, Cheryl, you know what? You are trying to control something that's not in your control. You turn the information over to the doctor, tell her what you need to do, make a deal with her that in a month, when I've lost my 10, 20 pounds, whatever, I don't know how much you lose in a month. I have maintained the same weight for 6 years now. And I used to be ferociously on a diet and off swing of 80 pounds. So to admit that I am terrified to try to lose weight, that terrifies me because I don't know how to do it gracefully. But I'm telling you what, I'm going to do it gracefully. And why? Because I'm here with you guys. It's the only thing that allows that. I'm going to do it. And, but it's not, I'm not like that. I'm relaxing into it. I don't even know how to do this. I'm confused and I don't know how to do it, but I do because I listen to Linda and I listen to trusted people that I love and have learned that they know what they're talking about. Relax into it. You don't need to be in control. It's all that stuff. So that's a long answer, but I'm telling you, what you asked that's the crux of everything, right? It's like, I know that I feel uncomfortable, but you know what? I'm going to be like that courageous pathfinder of the 6, and I'm going to walk into this with my eyes open, realizing that I'm going to feel uncomfortable. Joy talks about this all the time. Instead of fearing or hating this discomfort, is just go, you know what? I'm going to feel uncomfortable. This is 6 and 7, you do. Oh, wait till we get to 8 and 9. You're going to love it. You're going to feel uncomfortable. It's all good. And it's the way it's supposed to be. And it's good because we have each other. All right. Thank you so much, Tamara. Yes. And you're right. I know better than to do whatever you want to talk about. That's the broad path.
It was good. It was good. That wasn't a correction. It was just an observation from myself.
No, it's true. It's so true. All right. Sherry, to you.
Sorry, I thought I unmuted myself. Just an announcement. I still want to be part of the group. I did the assignment wrong. I did it this last bit. I just didn't understand it. I understand it now. I did something, it's just, I don't need to explain it other than to say I didn't quite do it right.
And
But I'll
it's,
still participate the best I can.
and that's perfect.
Mhm.
And that's all that's expected. So it's good.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, you're good. You're golden. And
Okay.
I will tell you, I want to say, because I know you're new to here, every assignment is an assignment's given, and you do as much or as little as you can do. There's people that are super busy. I'm retired now, so I got all kinds of time, and most people don't have all kinds of time. We do what we can do. And I'm going to guess about a fourth of the time, people are doing an assignment that wasn't what was assigned. I think,
Yeah,
I mean,
I got confused. Well, part of it I didn't know I just got confused. And then on the WhatsApp, someone said, "Is this it?" And she said it's for type 2. And I read it incorrectly and read 2 questions. And so I just did part of what was on the screenshot for type 2. But I still feel like it was helpful, even though it wasn't my type, because we all have all of it in us anyway. So what the
yeah.
heck?
So, but
Yeah.
you want to work on it for your type. So at the top of
I
that
will
screen,
I can do it after the group on my own,
that's
but I
perfect.
just
No,
can't
no
do it for the
worries. Yeah.
share. Yeah.
That's no worries at all. All
Yeah.
right. Thank you, Sherry. You bet.
Mhm.
And once again, because I know the steps have numbers and the types have numbers and then the questions have numbers, lots of numbers everywhere. But so the very first thing that you care about is what is your type, and then you're going to work the steps by type. All right. Everybody good?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Lori, are you ready to go?
Yep.
Thank you, Lori. All right. We are going to be talking about step 7. I think before I actually have it up here, I want to talk a little bit. No, let me read it. All right. So this is the 7th step prayer from the big book. I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. That is the 7th step prayer. I'm going to stop sharing. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about the 7-step prayer, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits of memorization. Before I do that, I want to say anybody born before 1962 was not born wired. Anyone born after 1962, I'm sorry, 82. Anybody born after 1982, so anybody born after 1982 was born plugged in. Basically, right, you never lived in a world that you couldn't have movies on demand. You never lived in a world without cell phones. You never, at least when you were a teen. Anybody born before 1982 was not born wired. And what has happened is the brains have become wired differently. Those my age and anybody born before 1982, we are basically wired to memorize. We store information. That's why when we were young, we would play Trivial Pursuit, and it would be right from our memories, we'd pull it up. Anybody born after 1982, they are wired to search. They are not wired to memorize. They are not wired to store information. They're wired to search. And as a result of that, if you ever play Trivial Pursuit, they're like, let me look it up. It's like, that's not a game if you're looking it up. Someone else knows, but you do not know. What? So totally change the whole Trivial Pursuit experience. So, but we are wired differently. So it is harder for people to memorize things that were born after 1982 because their brain is not wired that way. So what I want to do is I want to talk about the benefits of memorization. Because it doesn't mean you can't memorize. It just means that's not an automatic default for you. Okay. So when I say, okay, what's your mantra? And you pick it up and read what your mantra is, that's not the same thing as memorizing. So memorizing says, I literally, under moments of stress, that prayer, that mantra, that whatever it is I've memorized will come to me and give me comfort, will come to me and remind me of who I am. That's the purpose of the memorization. It's not rote, stupid memorization like, we had to memorize the periodic table, right? That's been really handy in my life. What, right? So it's not stuff like that, right? It's the things that can matter, because I will tell you, at my most stressful moments, in my life since I came to program, the 3rd step prayer, during that time when I didn't know if I had breast cancer or not, every morning I woke up and said the 3rd step prayer before I got out of bed. I want to be of service. Even during a difficult time in my life, I want to be of service, right? So help me. So I'm talking to my God with this, I don't know. I mean, rather than the random whatever, I have this very, very And I think the third step prayer is absolutely beautiful, but I learned the third step prayer and I memorized that so that I can say it. The seventh step prayer, but I'm going to introduce something that I did with my seventh step prayer. So, and the same thing with the mantra, right? That there are times, those of you that are eights, whenever I feel vulnerable, not so much now, but in my past, whenever I felt vulnerable in any way, I just felt so awful. So to be able to remind myself that in my vulnerability lies my strength gives me hope and gives me, right? I mean, it calms me down. It makes me feel in the place that I need to be. I don't know. It makes me feel less uncomfortable. I guess I'll put it that way. Okay. So the memorizing your mantra is not reading your mantra. It's actually knowing what the mantra is and really, really using it in times of difficulty. That's what we want to do. Okay, I'm going to share the screen again because I want to talk for a second about what your assignment is going to be. Once again, this is the seventh step prayer. And Joy and I sat down and basically wrote the seventh step prayer in essence, the way that we are working our program right now. So once again, higher power, greater power, whatever you call the spirit of the universe, God, whatever is your choice there. Okay. I am now willing that you should have all of me, true self and false self. I pray that you now remove from me the defense of, and you're going to fill in the blank. In my case, might be, the need to control, lust for intensity, whatever. If it stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Help me to see my other defenses as I live my life in alignment with your will. This is the way I have rewritten this, and I memorize this, and this is what I say. This is my seventh step prayer. Now, the reason I do that, because we are working on one defense. I don't want every single defense. I can't see it. And once again, I want to say the reason that I'm asking everybody to rewrite this defense instead of defect, and for one thing, is because I want you to be able to see as that happens. Like I want to see when that lust for intensity for me lets go. I want to be able to see when my need to control, I want it to be visible to me because I want to see the improvement as it happens. That's the reason that we're doing that. So I don't know if you want to take a picture of this. It is also out on the website under the next thing, because your assignment for this week is to create and memorize your own seventh step prayer. That is your assignment. Create and memorize your own seventh step prayer. Okay, so before we open this for more shares, I want to say, here is how you memorize. You break it into pieces. The best way to do this is you break it into pieces and you memorize each piece individually. Okay, so and it basically, that is the very best way to memorize, is you basically, the first piece, and you just say it over and over and over, and throughout that day you just say it, and then you add the next piece to it and you say it over and over and over. If anybody has a better way to do that, feel free to suggest it, but to me, when I want to do that, that's what I do, and I have it there and read it over and over and over. And so one of the things we're going to do next week, we're going to work on mantras. So this week I'm going to assign mantra stuff. This week is going to be the seven step prayer stuff, and I think you will be astounded at the difference that it makes when you memorize this and say it on a daily basis, on an hourly basis sometimes. And in my case, because what I'm still trying to decide which of the defenses I'm like behind, which of the defenses of the three that like haunt me, which of those do I think that I want to utilize, and I'll decide by next week. And then because my seventh step prayer will include that as my defense, the defense that is always jumping up, where the ego structure is jumping up to defend me. Okay, so next week we are going to share the seven step prayers in the breakout rooms. That's what we're going to do next week. So during this week, and once again, feel free to use the one that's out there, because it literally is, it has the official from the big book seven step prayer, followed by the one that Joy and I worked on, that's the one that she and I are going to use. And please feel free to use that. Just memorize that. Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Thanks, Cher. Is this the prayer to develop for ourselves? It's going to be really tough. I mean, I'm just prayers are something you get on a Christmas card. Is it based on, is this prayer, as we're developing it, based on what we've just shared here today, or how it's based on our defenses? I really have no clue how to approach this.
So what I would do if I were you is, out on the website is that seven step prayer. And once again, let me pull it up, because Let me share that again. Jim, if I were you, if you're having difficulty, this is going to be your 7-step prayer. All right.
Okay.
And you are a type 4. Have you picked the defense that you're interested in working on?
Yeah, I think it's the envy, self-pity.
Okay, and envy and self-pity. Okay, the two sides of that coin. Okay.
Yeah.
So here's what this is what you would memorize. God, or whatever you
Okay.
choose to call your greater power. I would say, greater power, I'm now willing that you should have all of me, true self and false self. I pray that you now remove from me the defense of self-pity and envy if it stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Help me to see my other defenses as I live my life in alignment with your will. That would be your prayer. And the idea of that, first of all, this one of the coolest things about the 7-step prayer that keeps us aligned with God. And Herb K talks about this quite a bit when he talks about step 7. And that is, we don't ask for every single defense to be removed. Like right now, everything gone, only if it stands in the way of our usefulness. If it doesn't stand in the way of our usefulness, it's down on the list. It doesn't matter. We'll work on it at some point in time, right? But not right now. Right now, I want the things that get in the way of how useful I am to this community, how useful I am to my greater power. That's what we care about, right? And for me, yeah, certainly when I show up with in my life with all this intensity, that does get in the way of my use. Did that help at all, Jim? If you just use the prayer that's there, I think, rather than creating something completely different, because what you really want to do is make sure that you are invoking. That's what we're doing, is we're pulling in. Okay, I'm going to back up. Our part in this, it's like there's two tracks that are happening at the same time. Our part is we are trying to do the opposite. If you remember from step 6, you came up with opposite things that you could do. So for me, instead of like stepping up and taking over, I hang back and watch and let someone else step up, and watch and let somebody else step up and do whatever it is that I used to do because I could. I literally have a mantra for that, in that just because I can doesn't mean I should. That works for the 8, because otherwise I'm stepping up all the time, stepping on people's toes, taking over things that aren't mine to take over. So I need to do that. And that is a defense. I didn't even realize that I would do that. But that was my ego saying, I can do it, I can do it, I can do it. Just because I can doesn't mean I should. Calm down. I'm not doing that. So, right. And so that would be a defense. That would be, once again, a defense that my ego structure has put in place, that I see the difference there. I see that because I've worked on it in the past. That would be the defense that I would put there. And my defense might be that I step up all the time. That might be the defense. I didn't call it that, and I didn't work the steps exactly the way we're working them now, but that would be one that, and I talked before, the early one for me was to basically rid me of being pissed off all the time, angry all the time, living an angry life. That's a horrible way to live your life. And I did. So the idea here is, what you want is to basically take that. There's 2 things that are going to happen. You're going to take that defense that you've chosen and put it in that prayer. And please feel free to use the prayer that's out there. You don't, this isn't intended for you to, become the poet laureate. You're just intended to you want a prayer, right? And it'll change over time probably. And you want to memorize that prayer. And then you are going to try to do the opposite. You're going to fail. You're going to suck at it. It's going to be terrible. And that's all good. Just try to do the opposite while invoking your greater power every day to help you with this. And guess what happens? That's how the elephant becomes the baby elephant. Still on a leash, can still jump up at any time, but it's not in charge anymore. Because our goal, like Alan Berger says, is for the best of us to run the rest of us, not for our ego structure to be in charge. That's what we're trying to do here. I'm going to open this for shares, and we have questions or comments about this. Jim, do you feel you're okay doing the prayer that's there?
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. All right, open for shares. Go ahead, Rosalind.
Cheryl, this has been so eye-opening to just go back and review some things that I kind of missed out. I missed out on the racket part. But the other day when I was reviewing it, I was like, so this is what my husband is saying when he says, you don't see how you're acting. You didn't even know you do that. And I used to say, I don't do anything. But it was like, oh my gosh, it's so deeply embedded. I'm doing that and I'm not even recognizing that I'm doing that.
Right.
So I got that part of it, and then today's humility was awesome too, because it's now when I'm acting in that humility, I'm teachable. Before I wasn't teachable. And now, because of what I'm doing now, because of where I'm at, I'm being, I guess, massaged. And, things are starting to look different. I'm starting to act different, be different. And so I really appreciate all this happening right now, the growth, and you guys for what you've done for us. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Rosalind. Yeah, because we have blind spots. That's human to have blind spots. And once again, I love the racket sheet. So I'm like, I think that's one of the reasons I couldn't wait to get to step 6 because I wanted to introduce that. So yeah, I love those. And I know about it, but I use it kicking and screaming. I have to get to the point where I'm like, oh, I can't stand this anymore. And then I finally do a racket sheet, which I wish I would do early on, right? But I don't even see it until then. I'm like, okay, why am I irritated all the time? Ah, okay, let's do a racket on that. Let's do a racket sheet on that. Yeah, absolutely. All right, any other shares? Such a quiet group today. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm not going to be quiet.
Okay. I knew you'd step up, Dave.
Well, I shared about this in the breakout room, and I've actually shared some parts of it in some other breakout rooms. But like a lot of men around my age, I've had issues with my prostate. And in case you don't know, there's not very many men in this group, but basically an enlarged prostate makes you have to pee all the time, or feel like you have to pee all the time. And I've been dealing with this issue for at least the past 5 years, and I've tried various things and have been tested for prostate cancer 3 times. I've had 3 biopsies, all were negative. I don't have prostate cancer, but I keep having symptoms. So I'm having surgery tomorrow for that, which is nicknamed the Roto-Rooter, which is doesn't sound like a lot of fun, but I will be out. I will be under anesthesia, so I won't be aware of anything till after it's over. But the I'm very happy to be having that. I've talked to several guys who've had it, and they've been very happy with the results. What I'm not as happy about is that this weekend I'm supposed to be on an all liquid, clear liquid diet. All I can have is coffee or tea or water that actually activates 2 of my issues. One is resistance to control, and the other is lust for intensity, because water and tea and chicken broth are not very intense to me. All I think about is food this whole weekend. It's like, oh, that'd be nice to eat. Oh, wait, nope, I'm not supposed to eat. And then I get pissed off. It's like, who am I pissed off at? I'm following my doctor's directions. I decided to do this surgery. It's not the only option I have. I agreed to this, and he said, okay, if I'm going to do the surgery, you agree to do this. But my gut reaction is right away. It's just so clear to me, as a type 8, I'm in that gut center. My gut reaction is I'm pissed. I can't eat. It's not right. And then I was on a Zoom meeting last night with someone else who's having this same surgery. He's in the Philippines, so he said it was Monday for him, but it's actually today for him that he's having this same surgery. And he said, yeah, but I'm just about to have lunch. And then he described in some detail what kind of lunch he was having. I thought, wait a minute, he's having the same surgery I am. Why is he allowed to eat this delicious lunch and I'm not supposed to eat anything? And then I thought, okay, he's in a different country. He has a different doctor. He has a different body. He's 85 years old. He just got out of the hospital. He's got a different situation than I have. His doctor probably has a different idea of what preparation for surgery is. That's okay. I don't have to have the same situation that he does, but I have to go through this mental process to walk myself through, okay, being pissed off about this is not appropriate. It's not helping me, but to get out of that gut reaction, I have to go to my head center and really just walk myself through it. I've agreed to do this. This isn't emergency surgery. This is something I've chosen to do, and I can do this for 2 days. It's not the end of the world. It's just very interesting to me how that gut reaction just takes me over initially, and then I have to use my head to get out of it. So anyway, I'm not sure how that'll fit into a prayer, but we'll see how it goes.
So I will say, so first of all, that is tied to your basic fear of being controlled. Here you have somebody telling you what to do. And by the way, most types will bargain. They bargain. 8s don't bargain, right? I don't want to bargain. We're doing it this way, right? So, but yeah, so your basic fear of being controlled, you are 100% being controlled right now. And it sucks, doesn't it? It does. but it's necessary, right? So you're right. You go to your head center and say, I give myself the semblance of control because I agreed to do this, so I'm going to do this, right? That's where I'm at with changing my food plan too. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, it drives me crazy. But it is, you know what? It is what it is. And this is called aging. So whatever. So good luck with that. And we will keep you in our thoughts and prayers, Dave, as you have your
Thank
surgery.
you.
Thank you. All right, Tamara, to you.
Just one little thing I wanted to verbalize as I was listening to other people and thinking about my step 7 prayer and my defense of self-doubt. It just struck me, maybe it struck me before, but as a side note, when you talk about memorizing, I've had several head injuries in car accidents. And so the combination of self-doubt, indecisiveness, and TBI, MTBI, it's like, I'm not sure what it is caused by, but I write down everything that I want to say, and I also, memorizing is challenging. However, the mantra I can easily memorize. So that is a good step about taking it in chunks, because the mantra is about the size of a chunk. And so that was easy. I know that. I did when I was a 2, I got that one down. And so I'm hopeful, and I know I'll be able to do it. And I think it'll be powerful. I realized something, I think, about self-doubt. And again, not sure if I've realized it before or not. It fuels jealousy, envy, judgment of others. And those things, because I'm doubting myself, I'm projecting it out to other people. And then there's distance coming between us because of those not so pleasant reactions. And again, I spoke about this in the breakout room. I think by doing that, I'm disconnected from the flow of life and the higher power and what my actual reason and usefulness to other people is, because my self-doubt is projecting out these not so great feelings. And so saying that is really resonating with me, that when I notice that, that's a good chance to go, whoa, step back. What's going on here? This is about your self-doubt. This is not about anybody else. So thank you very much, Cher.
Thank you, Tamara. So my husband teases me because I say, I had an epiphany. And every once in a while he'll say, didn't you have that epiphany like a couple months ago? I'm like, yeah, I get it over and over again. Yeah, that's exactly the way it works. Thank you, Tamara. Okay, so one of the things I want to say, one way to do this, if you live alone or you have someone who shares a bathroom with you that doesn't mind that you put things on the mirror, you can put the mantra on the mirror, or put the prayer on the mirror, right? And so that you see it all the time and you can memorize it in chunks that way. But seeing it in writing does help. Most of us are not auditory learners, by the way. We're visual learners. Most people are. So if you read it over and over and over again, but say it out loud, read it out loud. And what'll happen is you will hear, not only do you say it out loud, but you also hear your voice saying it. And that helps with memorization too. Thank you. Thanks, Tamara. Okay, Jasmine, to you.
Thanks for those tips. I just want to say really quickly that there's been a shift inside of me. And when you were saying like this is a quiet group, that is such progress for me, because usually I have no self-control. I'm in my head. I'm trying to do the group perfectly and say the right thing at the exact right moment. So all of this stuff is relaxing. Like, it's just so freeing. I'm so grateful for Surrender School.
Thank you, Jasmine. Yeah, I feel the same. So I was sitting at a restaurant the other day and there was a woman behind me that had used the F-bomb like every third word. And I thought, I don't want to be her. I don't. So I'm going to try to control myself. Doesn't mean they won't come up every once in a while, because, sometimes there's no word but that one. But, and Lori, I think it is time, so you can go ahead and stop recording.
Thanks for recovering with us.